The Super Mario Bros. Movie is coming out physically this week, and there's only one way for me to watch it. Come get me now, Nintendo ninjas. So like I said, the Super Mario Bros. Movie is out this week physically in 4K Blu-ray, standard Blu-ray, DVD, and if you buy it on 4K, chances are you're going to get it with the Blu-ray and the digital code, which I'm not going to show you because I don't want any of you trying to redeem my code. But chances are if you pre-ordered it like I did literally the second I got back from the theater watching it for the first time, you probably got it over the weekend already. I did, I know some other people that did. And the only thing that's different about this is, of course, the fact that it's a Steelbook. Everything on the disc remains the same. What you get inside is this little art piece of the Mushroom Kingdom, but other than that, it's a pretty simplistic Steelbook. It's nothing too fancy, but you know, I like collecting my Steelbooks, you know, sue me. So I'm totally fine with what we got here in this package. But what I'm going to talk to you about now, just threw that on the ground, is the contents of the DVDs themselves, and I'm going to be answering the question on whether it's worth it for you to buy the Super Mario Bros. Movie physically. And you know, right off the bat, I'm going to say, of course it is. Support physical media. You know, in this day and age where movies are just being deleted from digital storefronts and streaming services, you gotta get that physical media, man. I don't think that's going to happen with the Super Mario Bros. Movie at all. This movie made a $1 billion at the box office. But if you don't care about that stuff, which is totally fine, the main advantage I think that physical media has is that the picture quality will always be superior because you're not relying on an internet connection to stream the movie to your device, because you're not streaming it, it's running off of a disc. So in that sense, you're getting a constant bitrate the entire time. Even if you're streaming the movie and it's streaming at 4K, chances are the connection will fluctuate. It's not going to look as good in some spots. Even if the streaming looks as best as it can be, even on a standard HD Blu-ray disc, you're still getting a constant connection all the way, because again, you're not relying on an internet connection. But as the Mario movie is on its own with this 4K disc, it looks absolutely beautiful. Of course, your results may vary depending on the kind of TV you have as well as the settings you have enabled, but for me, I don't even have an OLED 4K TV, but I do have an HDR one, and it looks fantastic. Some 4K movies have this problem where it's too film grainy or what have you, but this movie right here just looks absolutely perfect all the way. I even think it looks better than how it looked in the cinema for me when I saw it twice. The colors just absolutely pop with that HDR quality, especially the scene with the fire flower field. I also have to give a shout out to the Donkey Kong Kingdom, I forget the name of it off the top of my head. That also looks incredibly beautiful in 4K on my TV, and I'm sure if I streamed it off of like Amazon Prime Video or something at 4K, it would look fine too. But again, I have to recommend that if you want the best quality there is, you must go for the 4K Blu-ray or even the standard Blu-ray if you don't have a 4K TV. And if you're a stickler for menus, this is what the menu of the movie looks like in both 4K and regular Blu-ray. It looks fine, nothing too special. The bonus features are always on the right. And as for the setup, you get languages for English, French, and Spanish. Subtitles are the same languages as well. So sadly, there aren't that many language settings if you want to hear what this movie sounds like in Japanese or any other language that's not French or Spanish. But let's get into the bonus features, of which there are 5. There's getting to know the cast. There's a documentary called Leveling Up, the making of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. There's a Peaches lyrical video, which is fine, but it's not nearly as good as the live action music video Jack Black made. And there's 2 other features, the Super Mario Bros. Movie Field Guide and Leadership Lessons from Anya Taylor-Joy. And I'm going to go over those real quick because there's not too much to them. The Field Guide is basically a summary of the characters and the world of the Mushroom Kingdom. It's got some fast-paced editing in there. The cast of the movie describe everyone and everything to you. It's a few minutes long. It's nothing too fascinating. And I can also say the same for the featurette Leadership Lessons from Anya Taylor-Joy. Both these featurettes are mainly meant for children, and Anya Taylor-Joy in this basically gives like a few tips to anyone who's looking to become a good leader, like showing compassion, surrounding yourself with people you love, you know, positive lessons that children can learn. And that's only about 3 minutes long, if that. Now let's move on to getting to know the cast. And it focuses on Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, Bowser, Donkey Kong, Cranky Kong, and Lumily. The last 2 are really interesting because Fred Armisen is actually not in this featurette. Instead, Cranky Kong's being talked about by some of the crew members, including the directors. Same with Luma Lee, who's played by Juliette Jelinek, who's the daughter of one of the directors, Michael Jelinek, and it's totally fine why she's not in it, probably because the director didn't want her face to get out there. Totally fine there. But there's nothing really fascinating about any of these character deep dives. I can't even really call them deep dives. They're just summaries of the characters that we already know about. Like, oh, Mario, he's down on his luck. He's confident. He's self-driven. Stuff like that. Stuff we already know, really. So nothing really fascinating there. No interesting tidbits in how Chris Pratt came up with his Mario voice. It's just stuff we really knew. Well, let's get to the little mini documentary that's only about 30 minutes long, leveling up the making of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And it's cool in some parts. Like, I made a video about the 5 interesting things I've learned from this documentary, but that's really about it. Those 5 details are the only details while watching this documentary that made me go, oh, hey, that's really cool. Like how Miyamoto was the one that came up with the idea of Mario not liking mushrooms because he thought it would be funny. That stuff is really cool, but even then, the 5 things I mentioned in that video are hardly elaborated on. I really would have loved to see like a deep dive into breaking down a scene, like how it's animated. They do go over like a bit of how one particular scene is animated, but they only show the animator's screen for like maybe 10 seconds. I wouldn't say there's anything really groundbreaking in this mini documentary, nothing about how this deal came to be, not really much about the challenges of adapting this video game onto the big screen. It just plays it really safe. The crew members are there. These interviews were made before the movie came out, so a lot of them were talking about how excited they were for this movie to finally come out. And you know, that's really cool. I really liked the section with composer Brian Tyler and how he made the soundtrack for the movie, and Koji Kondo giving tips on which tracks can be used for parts of the movie. But even then, that segment's really short. This whole documentary is just really short. I would have loved to have a fully detailed documentary that's maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours, but as it is, it's just a very safe documentary. I can't even call it that, really. It's very much a mini doc. It could have been a YouTube video on its own. So overall, the bonus features in this film, which I got through in just under an hour, aren't really groundbreaking, and that's kind of disappointing. But what's more disappointing is that there's no commentary. I would have loved to hear some commentary as this movie plays, like directors talking about different shots of this film, like challenges that were made by the screenwriter, Matthew Fogel. There's some really good potential here, and they kind of squandered it in this DVD set. On one hand, yeah, the features are very lackluster. I came away watching those features not really having learned much more about the movie that I didn't already know. However, just the fact that this movie is still on this disc, the movie that I already loved to begin with, and it looks and sounds great with my setup, and it's bound to look great with your setup as well, I have to give this a liked on the GameXplain review scale. It's still a really good addition to your physical movie library, and especially if you already liked the movie to begin with, it's a no-brainer to get this disc set. Of course, you might be content with having bought it digitally, which is totally fair, but if you're looking for the video quality to be constant all the way through, I recommend getting this on disc, Blu-ray, 4K, what have you. It's definitely worth it there. But if you still want the luxury of having this in your digital library, it comes with a code anyway. So if you haven't bought the movie digitally yet, you'll be getting a code with this as well. You'll be able to get it on the Movies Anywhere app, and it's very convenient that way if you want to stream this movie without having to have the disc with you at all times. So that's what I think about the physical version of the Super Mario Bros. Movie on Blu-ray. Let me know in the comments if you plan on picking it up, or if you're totally content with having it on streaming services or waiting until it hits Peacock or what have you whenever it's coming out on streaming services. So let me know what you think, and until next time, bye-bye.